We got breaking news with the Georgia Supreme Court in one of those election voting interference cases, and they're screwing around with Cobb County, a county that Joe Biden won by over 14 points. They're trying to find a way, the Georgia Supreme Court, which leans all the way over to the right, to try to disenfranchise more than 3,000 or more Cobb County voters. You're on Legal AF YouTube. This is the reason we created this channel with your help. Take a moment and vote here. Hit the blue button, hit the free subscribe button. I'm Michael Popok at The Intersection. Following all these election cases, they seem to be coming out about every 20 minutes or so, and we got a new one. Last week, I reported that a trial court level judge in Cobb County ruled that because there were problems outside the voters' control, not their fault, with the printing of the ballots, the mailing of the ballots, the post office, that people that requested on time a mail-in ballot, but that got it late, would be able to use a mail-in ballot for what it says right there in the title, to mail it back in, and would allow, as long as there was a postmark of the day of the election, on Tuesday, and it arrived by Friday following the election, it would be counted and cast as a lawful ballot. That was a good ruling. That's a way to enfranchise people. Once you know what the voter's intention is, let the voter vote, right? Free the voter. Hashtag free voter, that's a democratic principle. Hashtag suppress the vote, throw out the vote, hold down the vote in Democratic counties around Atlanta in order to let Donald Trump prevail in the redder parts of the state. That's a Republican motto. And the Georgia Supreme Court, which is overwhelmingly Republican, 8 out of the 9 of the Supreme Court justices appointed by Republican governors just voted 5-3 to reverse course and disenfranchise Cobb County mail-in voters. We're talking about, just so you have the numbers, more than 3,000 people were told just a day or so ago that as long as they got their stamp and their postmark on the election day, the ballot could come in by Friday. Now, the Georgia Supreme Court says that's not good enough. They have to show up in person and bring their ballot with them to cast their ballot by close of polls 7 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. The election board just spent all their time and effort trying to contact people, telling them it's okay. Here's how you do it. Make sure you put a stamp on it. 1,000, 1/3 of the vote, 1,000 out of the 3,000, they're not even in Georgia. They're from out of state. They're residents of Georgia, permitted to vote there. But maybe they're students or other people who are living for a job out of the state for temporarily. So how are you even going to contact them? Well, the Georgia Supreme Court doesn't care because they just want to F with a blue county. A blue county, just so you have the vote totals. Remember, if you don't know, I'll tell you straight. Georgia, Joe Biden won Georgia by 11,750 votes. That's it, 11,750 votes. The majority of votes have already been cast in Georgia by mail-in, early voting, or absentee balloting. Those votes will be open first because they've been counted all along the way in Georgia. We'll know good Georgia numbers and maybe even some networks and some decision desks calling Georgia before midnight. And here's a little secret. If it goes Kamala Harris's way, she's got a lot of different paths to become the president of the United States. Let's go back to Georgia. In 2020, 11,758 votes separated the two candidates. That was it. In Cobb County alone, a large county alongside of Atlanta, there were 222,000 votes for Joe Biden against 165,000 votes for Donald Trump, 57% to 43%. But more importantly, it was an almost 70,000 vote advantage for Joe Biden, which he used to carry himself through the state as it chipped away with the red parts of the states, getting down to the 11,750 vote total. So I posit a question to the Georgia Supreme Court. If this was a bright red MAGA county like the one Marjorie Taylor Greene represents, you think you'd be bending over backwards to try to disenfranchise voters and take away their right to vote and tell them, no, sorry what we told you. Sorry, 1/3 of those 3,000 people. 3,000 people, which is 30% of the difference between Biden and Trump. That's how big this number is. No, you're going to have to make your way. We know what you were told, but that's no longer the law. You're being told something else here last minute. This is, and you have to get your ballot in Your mail-in ballot, you have to walk in to a vote, your polling precinct, not another one, and deliver it by election day, by 7 p.m. And we're already here late in election day. And if you live out of the state or out of the country temporarily, you're SOL. You just got disenfranchised by your Georgia Supreme Court. How do you avoid that? Make sure you vote for a Democrat. Stacey Abrams would have been a nice choice in Georgia, but everybody there went for George. A lot of people there went for Kemp, and this is what happens when you have a Supreme Court making ultimate rulings about their law of their land. Now, I'm not saying this means it's total disaster for Kamala Harris, but I would have liked 3,000 votes that probably trended 60% or more for Kamala Harris to be counted. So we're hoping that the Georgians who were screwed by their own Georgia Supreme Court, that's without dinner or a cigarette, by the way, being disenfranchised, that they fight back and they show up and they deliver by 7 p.m. to have that vote counted. That's what we implore them to do here on Legal AF and on the Midas Touch Network. There's lots of these cases that I'm going to be reporting on at the intersection of law and politics, and I know of only one place to do it. This is the reason the Midas Touch Network and I got together and said, let's put together finally the Legal AF channel. You're on it right there. Hit the blue subscribe button. Early voting. Because I'm at the intersection. I'm Michael Popok. I'm curating this channel. I'm putting together the best work at the intersection of law and politics, bringing it to you without blowing smoke or sunshine. Boo to the Georgia Supreme Court trying to disenfranchise their fellow residents. Yay to the county of Cobb County, whose election officials are working overtime to try to get those people to get their ballots that, yes, it says mail in, but we don't care. Run it in. Don't even walk it in. Run it in. This is sneaker democracy, right? Shoe leather democracy. Get it in there. Get it in before the gate closes on democracy at 7 p.m. And then the vote totals start, and hopefully we'll know by 12. Here is a little bit of a palm guide, little viewer guide for your palm. Kamala Harris is ahead in Georgia or North Carolina. Donald Trump's toast. It's the only way I can put it. She's ahead in those two states. By the time 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. rolls around, he is toast. If she loses Georgia, it's okay too. She's got the blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Take us a little longer because those states haven't started counting their votes yet. And we're probably not going to know until well into Wednesday or Thursday. But let's hope for Georgia coming through, Georgia. Let's do it one more time, Georgia. I mean, the Get Out the Vote drive. The Get Out the Vote organization for Kamala Harris is unparalleled and unprecedented. It's kicking Donald Trump's people's butt on everywhere and every place. He outsourced it to Elon Musk with these crazy $1 million giveaways. They're doing the hard work, the Get Out the Vote team for Kamala Harris. Organized, structured, disciplined, knocking on doors, 90,000 people knocking on doors all over America to get people to vote. And they did it earlier to get them to register to vote. And Democrats have a mail-in advantage, an absentee voting advantage. Everybody that's already voted, 80 million people, there's a Democratic advantage built into that. Now we got to sit back for all the flag waving, pickup truck riding people who are supporting the other guy. But Georgia's not making it any easier on its people. And so I applaud those people that are not going to be denied their right to vote, who are not going to allow their Supreme Court to disenfranchise them or tell them who the United States president is. It wasn't their fault. Printing problems, mail problems, a vendor who screwed up the ballots, that disenfranchises, that's going to turn the election. Which stupid vendor they used, the mail person not delivering it on time, a printing problem with the ballot, that's going to turn the election. I say no. I say we reject that, right? Going to have to follow it right here, Legal AF, all night long. All we're going to be doing is videos at the intersection of law and politics. Think how many cases about ballots, about deadlines, about extended voting hours. Wait till the lines are so long and the votes and the courts have to be used to try to keep them open or tell them to close or how they count or when they count. There's going to be errors. The Trump side's going to try to exploit it, try to say, oh, voter integrity. That means voter suppression. They don't want to count every vote. The Republicans want to take big bags of votes and burn them in the parking lot. We can't allow it. That's why I'm here. That's why I founded with the Midas Touch Brothers, Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Take a minute. Tell me if you like it. Hit subscribe and come right back here for the next story at the intersection of law and politics. I'm Michael Popok, and I am at the intersection. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.